Welcome to another amazing episode of our movie. I assure you, you're going to love this one. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel at the end of the movie. Thank you, and sit tight. The movie begins with David, a young and successful businessman, in the living room with his girlfriend Samantha. The two get into an argument, with Samantha yelling at him to shut up while calling him names. David, on the other hand, is just staring at her in surprise. He eventually breaks the silence by calling her names, which enrages Samantha. She slaps David on the cheek. This leads David to end their relationship as he tells her he is done. Samantha, still screaming at him, storms out. When Samantha gets home, her sister, who is busy on her phone in the living room, sees her crying. Concerned, her sister quickly stands up and asks what's wrong. Samantha explains everything, and the two begin hurling insults at David. Samantha's sister, Ifunanya, says she always knew David was not a good guy, even though she has never met him. She tries to comfort Samantha, telling her to forget about David because he doesn't deserve her. However, Samantha, upset by the whole ordeal, storms into her room angrily. The next morning, Samantha is still asleep in her room when Ifunanya comes in with a cup of tea, calling her name. When there's no response, she feels Samantha's temperature, which is high. Samantha finally wakes up, and they start talking. Still lying in bed, Samantha tells Ifunanya that she feels devastated because David hurt her so badly. She even questions if she is worthless. Ifunanya immediately assures her that she should never let a man make her feel that way. As she consoles Samantha, she declares that any man who makes her sister miserable will not go scot-free. She begins asking for details about David, but Samantha tells her not to worry since they've already broken up. The following morning, David arrives at his office and finds an envelope on his desk. When he opens it, he is shocked by its contents and screams for his staff member, yelling at her to explain where the message came from and why the sender was allowed in. The staff member explains that the person claimed to be David's sibling and insisted it was a matter of life and death. Angrily, David yells at her to leave his sight as he wonders who could have sent the message. Later, David is at home with his friend Charles, discussing the mysterious message. He shows Charles the note and expresses feeling threatened because he doesn't know who sent it or what they want. However, Charles dismisses the idea of a threat, joking that it might be someone with a crush on David. Annoyed, David asks Charles if he's being serious. They continue chatting, and Charles reminds David of an old school friend, Sonia, suggesting they meet since David is now single. Intrigued, David agrees. That night, David and Sonia are at a hotel bar having drinks. When it's time to pay the bill, David reaches into his pocket for his wallet but cannot find it. Embarrassed, he recalls bumping into a woman on his way into the hotel. He tries to make a bank transfer, but his accounts are not working. The situation becomes more awkward as Sonia gets upset and leaves angrily. David also leaves. Outside, he finds his wallet lying near his car and is surprised. He picks it up and drives off. Meanwhile, Ifunanya returns home after carrying out her secretive plans. Samantha, noticing how unusually dressed Ifunanya is, asks her where she has been. Ifunanya explains everything and the two chat. Later that night, David is with Charles again, explaining the embarrassing incident at the hotel. They laugh about it as they chat over drinks. 2 days later, David and Sonia meet again at the hotel, and David apologizes for the previous incident. Sonia also apologizes for her reaction. As they are about to place their order, a woman walks up to them. David asks if he knows her, but before he can say more, she slaps him hard across the cheek. Both David and Sonia are shocked as the woman begins yelling and accusing David of things that aren't true. Upset, Sonia leaves. David chases after the woman, but she quickly disappears. When David gets home, he explains everything to Charles, telling him that he has no idea what the woman wants and that he is starting to feel genuinely scared. The two chat further about the situation. The following day, David was walking while chatting with his friend over the phone when a lady walking toward him, holding a drink, accidentally spilled it on him. She quickly apologized and walked away, but David recognized her voice and immediately went after her. Later that night, David was in his room and decided to call Samantha to ask if she had anything to do with what was happening to him. Samantha, however, started yelling, insisting she had no business with him anymore and had moved on with her life. Furious, she hung up on him. The following night, David went to a bar to clear his head. While drinking, he noticed a lady sitting alone and approached her. They exchanged pleasantries, chatted, and quickly got along. Before leaving, David asked for a hug, which she agreed to. However, during the hug, she spiked his drink with a substance and left. Unaware, David continued drinking. The next morning, David woke up in his bed, confused about how he got home. He distinctly remembered being at the bar. He called his friend Charles to ask if he had brought him home, but Charles said he hadn't. David was surprised and even more alarmed when he noticed a note on his desk. The note revealed that the woman from the bar had brought him home and claimed they had been intimate. She also stated that she was HIV positive and welcomed him to the club. David was left devastated, unsure of what to do. The next day, David shared the incident with Charles, but his friend urged him to get tested before jumping to conclusions. David, still upset, wasn't paying attention to his advice. That same day, Ifunanya and Samantha were in the living room chatting. Ifunanya told Samantha that she planned to get into David's life and ruin it just as he had ruined her sister's. Samantha seemed uneasy but allowed the conversation to continue. The next morning, David had his test results ready. Anxious, he opened them and discovered he was HIV negative. Relieved and overjoyed, he felt his luck was turning around. Later that day, David called Ifunanya and asked if they could meet. She agreed, and they ended the call. When they met, they chatted over drinks, confessed their feelings for each other, and Ifunanya agreed to be his girlfriend. The next day, David excitedly told Charles about Ifunanya, describing how much he loved her and how beautiful she was. Charles was happy for him. That day, Ifunanya visited David's house, and they spent time together, laughing, playing, and making jokes. Later that night, while talking, Ifunanya admitted to David that she hadn't expected him to be so kind. David was surprised by her comment. Perhaps her perspective of him was changing, but only time would tell where this new development would lead. The next morning, Ifunanya returned home and greeted Samantha. Samantha grew suspicious and asked if she was hiding something. Ifunanya denied it, but when Samantha asked where she had spent the night, Ifunanya hesitated before admitting she was with David. Shocked, Samantha pressed further, asking if they had been intimate. Flustered, Ifunanya didn't respond, and Samantha told her to go inside. Later that night, Ifunanya and Samantha were out when they ran into David's friend. The friend made a sarcastic remark about Samantha's breakup with David being a great liberation and joked that they should have gone to church for Thanksgiving because the slaps were too much. Surprised, Ifunanya asked Samantha if she had slapped David, but Samantha denied it, and they left. The next morning, Ifunanya visited David's house and was shocked to see that the man they had run into the night before was David's friend. He was equally surprised to see her. After a while, David realized they knew each other and asked Ifunanya if Samantha was her sister. When she confirmed it, David explained that Samantha had cheated on him repeatedly and would call him names or slap him whenever he confronted her about it. This revelation surprised Ifunanya. Curious, David asked about her story, and she explained how her fiancé had proposed to her and then disappeared. They both laughed and continued their conversation. Later that day, Ifunanya returned home and confronted Samantha. Furious, she accused her sister of lying about David and manipulating her into seeking revenge. She revealed that she had fallen in love with David and couldn't bring herself to leave him. Samantha, visibly shaken, asked Ifunanya to stop playing games with David, but Ifunanya refused, walking away from the confrontation. The next day was David's birthday. Ifunanya visited him to wish him well and give him a gift. When David opened her gift, he found a written note inside. Surprised, Ifunanya insisted she hadn't put it there. The note read, "I hope your birthday takes away all the pain you have felt this year." David smiled, feeling happy, and then went upstairs. A while later, there was a knock at the door. It was Samantha. She claimed she just wanted to wish her ex a happy birthday. Ifunanya asked her to leave, but Samantha refused. Soon, David and his friend Charles came downstairs and were surprised to see Samantha. Samantha lied, saying that Ifunanya had invited her. David wasn't happy about it, but decided not to let it ruin his birthday. As everyone gathered to eat, the meal was tense because Samantha kept stirring up trouble. Later, while they were all in the living room, David confessed his love for Ifunanya and began to propose to her. However, Samantha interrupted the moment by revealing that Ifunanya was her younger sister and had been tormenting David earlier. Both David and Charles were shocked. Heartbroken, Ifunanya apologized and left in tears. When Ifunanya got home, she quarreled with Samantha. The sisters exchanged harsh words, and Samantha vowed that Ifunanya would never be with David, making Ifunanya even angrier. The next day, David received an apology letter from Ifunanya at his office. Touched, he shared it with Charles. However, Charles warned him not to give Ifunanya another chance, arguing that she and Samantha shared the same blood and might have similar traits. David disagreed, defending Ifunanya as someone intentional and different. Later that night, Samantha apologized to Ifunanya, pleading for forgiveness and giving her permission to be with David. She admitted that she didn't truly love David and had been wrong to interfere. At first, Ifunanya resisted, but eventually forgave Samantha, and they hugged, reconciling as sisters. The next day, Ifunanya went to David's office to deliver another apology in person. David came out to meet her, and they had a heartfelt conversation. Ifunanya sincerely expressed her regret, acknowledging the pain she had caused. David admitted he had been hurt, but said he couldn't throw away a priceless jewel like her. He asked if they could start over, and Ifunanya accepted. They confessed their love for each other and sealed it with a kiss, beginning a new chapter together. Thank you for watching this amazing story from my world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe for more interesting and educational stories like this. See you in our next movie.
Thank you.